Last week we saw the second season of 2020 kick off with a bang as relative unknown Richard Regan Jr. took the win over Bradley Hawley in the final restart of the race, surprising everyone and knocking the reigning champ down a peg. But as we look to this week, the new Texas will throw another wrench in the works for these drivers. Will Regan repeat? Will Hawley retake the top spot of the podium? Or will we see another new winner rise to the top? We'll find out shortly as we get ready to watch the round 2 of Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by Diecast Kings. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth today is Chris Phoebe. Our director tonight will be Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. This week's track is one that may sound familiar, but its racing surface here on iRacing is new to all of us. To learn what has changed since we last visited this infamous track, let's take you down to our new and shiny track guide.
Welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and TMS doesn't disappoint. Located 45 minutes northwest of downtown Dallas and just over 20 minutes north of downtown Fort Worth, Texas Motor Speedway opened back in February 1996. Texas Motor Speedway has been a staple on the NASCAR and IndyCar circuits since the first major event was held here back in 1997. TMS is a 1.5-mile quad oval mirroring sister tracks in Atlanta and Charlotte, but what makes Texas unique is the varied banking. Turns 1 and 2 are banked at 20 degrees. Turns 3 and 4 are banked at 24 degrees, and that may not seem like much to you, but the reduction in banking combined with an abrupt exit angle in turn 2 makes the first half of the track among the trickiest in oval racing. Many an iRacer have seen their race come to an end after bouncing off the turn 2 wall. Now on the back half of the track, turns 3 and 4 make for some of the most intense and exciting wheel-to-wheel racing in the world, and have led to many memorable finishes in NASCAR and in IndyCar, including 2 of the 6 closest finishes in IndyCar history. The Lone Star Tower stands as one of the most visually stunning structures on the iRacing service. Located in Turn 2, this 10-story building is home to condominiums as well as office suites, and boy does it stand out under the picturesque setting Texas sun. Well, that's our look at Texas Motor Speedway. Now sit back, kick up your cowboy boots, and enjoy the show.
And there you saw a beautiful overview of this newly scanned Texas Motor Speedway. And they're driving around it right now in the Precision Racing League, which is brought to you this season by our sponsor, Diecast Kings. Shop Diecast Kings, your home for the best selection of NHRA, NASCAR, and this season's IndyCar diecast for the 2020 season. Whenever it picks back up, you can pick yours up today at diecastkings.com. Chris?
And our league sponsor, the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebuttkicker.com today to view their full line of products.
All right, so we actually do have some points to talk about as well. The points from last race are as they finished, which is Richard Regan having a 3-point lead over Bradley Hawley, who has a little bit of points over J.R. Smith. Then Matt Sentel and Josue Telez round out those top 5. So, yeah, that's how it's going in the Drivers' Championship. How's it going in the Teams' Championship, Chris?
Well, the Teams Championship, you see kind of a reflective of what we had last week. For our finish results, the Whataback Car Ramrod team is on top with 5 markers ahead of Rescue Racing Tail Chasing team. The Rescue Racing Puppers are another 5 back, then Whataback Racing Back Row Racing, and the Ballistic Union is going to complete our top 5, just a few more markers down.
All right, and for those of you who may be joining us for the first time tonight, this is round 2 of 10 for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. They're going to be doing 85 laps tonight or 60 minutes, whichever comes first. They have a fixed setup, which they run. It's identical to the one that you might be running in the C-Class truck races on the iRacing service. They have no fast repair and a 24 hard incident cap, which means that they will disappear from the track if they hit that, but I don't expect them to hit that tonight. They're also running 100% fuel, so these trucks will go the full distance tonight. All right, Chris, we are into qualifying now, and we have a couple of trucks out there. We're about a minute and 10 seconds into qual. And it doesn't look like anyone has set a time. We're taking a look at Adam Young, who's coming around track. He's on the riding shotgun car.
Yeah, already some drivers clicking off times as Adam Young comes around. Looks like he will be one of the top mark, 30.428, quickly replaced by Jay Felton with a 30.184.
The time's coming in thick and fast here, and this is actually a really good time to talk about our weather system that's going through right now. It is a hot one in Texas today. 118 degrees on the track. Not much wind, but a little bit of humidity. It is toasty out there, Chris.
Yeah, very hot track. That's going to make for a little bit of slick racing conditions out there as track make it a little bit greasy with all the heat down on the racing surface.
Daniel Knight crossing the line, getting a 30.091, the fastest time so far. And we're still looking to see a couple of other drivers coming across. Colton Lane moves himself up into second. He's got about 5 100ths off of the pace. Looks like Daniel Knight's going to abandon his second lap. And we're going to take a look at Jared Mogart. He's coming across for what is going to be his fastest lap. That's a 30.122. And then Mike Eames coming across with a slower lap on his second lap, almost a full second slower, Chris.
Yeah, we only had one driver that broke into the 29-second bracket in practice, and that was Bradley Holly. So we'll look here as Jose Tellez crosses the line. Looks like he'll be a little bit down the running order. See if anybody can break through to that 29-second bracket. Here in qualifying with a very hot track, may be a little bit difficult.
Mike Eames got his set 2 laps in, but Bradley Holly is in the middle of his first run as we see Blaine Adams cross the line with a 30.28, which is going to be good enough for 11th. Bradley Holly down the backstretch. He's been fast all day long. He was definitely faster than all of his competitors in practice, Chris.
Yeah, like we mentioned, only driver to get to the 29-second bracket, and he's coming down to set a time. And looks like only a 32.67, so that'll put him down around 12th spot right now.
That's going to be dangerous for him. He's going to keep going here as he goes through. Charles Sumner, though, he puts in a 30.966. It looks like these guys who are going off later in the session, we only have about a minute 15 left. They're starting to lose a little bit of pace here. Brandon Walters starting his coming across the line with a 30.516, but we haven't seen anyone beat Daniel Knight's time from about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, maybe backing it up, not the best idea here, as these drivers are going to be a little bit backlogged towards the end of qualifying.
Bradley Holly was able to move up into 5th with a 30.115. Thomas Sink, not doing very good, came across with 25th. Charles Sumner's second lap wasn't his best either, with Brett Adams is going to come across with his first lap in a 30.419. But that was actually his warm-up lap, rather. Dominic Bagine, his second lap is significantly quicker. That moves him up to 10th position. So, goodness gracious, Chris, these guys are all under a second.
Yeah, given that we have a new track and a lot of trucks that are very close in time, this could make for a pretty eventful race.
Brendan Chatley came across and was good enough for 10th, but it looks like he's rolling his truck down a little bit. So it looks to be like Daniel Knight is going to be able to take this pole unless Paul Williams can get the better of it. It looks like he's unable to do so. So that's going to round out our grid. Daniel Knight is going to start on pole today. Second place is going to be Ken Huber. Then we have Colton Lane lining up in 3rd with Jay Felton lining up 4th. Bradley Holly is going to line up in the 5th position after taking second last round with Jared Mogard lining up in 6th. Mike Eames is going to line up in 7th place with Richard Regan Jr., our first place finisher last week, lining up in the 8th position. Thomas Sink, who's been very competitive with Holly over the last couple seasons, lines up in 9th, and Brendan Chatley rounds out your top 10.
Dominic Beijing falls just short of the top 10, coming in 11th, followed by Charles Sumner in 12th. And we'll have Blaine Adams in the lucky 13th spot, followed by Jose Tellez in 14th. 15th on the grid is J.R. Bash with Mike Richter 16th. Matt Sentel, another top 5 finisher from a week ago. He'll start 17th, followed by Adam Young, Brandon Walter, and Craig Holden completing your top 20.
Paul Williams is starting outside the top 20 today in 21st. Alongside him is Edward Perry. Row 12 is going to be Stacy Hunter alongside Adam Shane in that 24th position. John LaBath starting off in 25th with Brett Adams starting up 26th. Kevin Santana in 27th position alongside Nicholas Hunter in 28th. Austin Hunter, the Hunters lined up nose to tail here, lining up in that 29th position with Baron Hilton rounding out the top 30.
Our drivers that did not make a time here today: James O'Brien, Rob Haynes, Adam Zemke, Tristan Callahan, Matthew Aubrey, and Thomas Freitas complete the field. Those drivers not making an attempt in qualifying.
Well, Chris, looking at it's a very hot and sunny day out there today, and these trucks and this track, the new tire model, this new track surface, is there any way that we can know what to expect going into this race?
I believe you have to call a 1-800 number and talk to Miss Cleo to find out exactly what might happen tonight.
Well, maybe Miss Cleo is one of the few people who knows what's going to happen tonight. But one thing is for sure, all eyes are going to be on the 5th place driver, that 184 of Bradley Hawley, to see whether or not he can climb his way to the front. He's been successful most of the time, but other eyes are going to be on Richard Regan Jr. Richard Regan pulling off a surprise win last week. Was a great finish for him and good way to start the points championship for him, definitely.
Yeah, the best way to kick off your season is definitely with a win. And Regan out there, kind of an unexpected finisher with some of the top talent we have in truck racing here in the PRL today. So looks to see if he can back that finish up with another strong run here today.
Our pole sitter Daniel Knight leading them to the line with Ken Huber on the outside. We see our Mustang pace car with the lights off. He will pull into the pit road at the end of turns 3 and 4, which you're going through right now. We're looking forward to another great race with the Precision Racing League trucks. It's going to be a hot one. It's going to be a tight one, and these drivers on this new tire model and this new track aren't going to know what to expect going into turn 1 side by side, but we're about to find out what it's going to be like. The pace car pulls off, and Daniel Knight about to start the race. He lines up and he's waiting quite a long time. And he hits it. Off he goes. Ken Huber with also a good jump on the outside, but looks like that was Colton Lane on the inside who actually got a pretty bad start, but Daniel Knight, good enough run to get out front and going into turn 1 and 2.
Now in the real world, we've seen this track kind of struggle with the 2 grooves a little bit. And also don't forget we have 2 different levels of banking between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So these drivers could very well have their hand full here at the completion of this first lap.
3 and 4 are more heavily banked than 1 and 2, so those drivers on the outside will have more to work with as they exit the corner. It is single file down there all the way through. Oh, and we have a caution. That looks like it is Baron Hilton involved. All right, as the field manages to slow down, it looks like this was actually started by Baron Hilton, and it was Baron Hilton who got into the back of Adam Zemke as they were braking for turns 3 and 4.
Now these were drivers towards the back of the field because they didn't have a chance to make a qualifying attempt.
Yeah, it looks like Adam Zemke just got off the brakes a little bit earlier than Hilton expected. Hilton letting off the brakes and trying to roll into the corner without getting the back end loose, ends up getting in the back of Zemke, and that sends Zemke around.
Almost looked like Zemke would have probably saved it, but the 29 at Haynes down there looks like he was wrong place, wrong time.
And interesting to see that they were 3 wide going into 3 and 4 on lap 1. And that's one of those moments where you scratch your head a little bit, because with this new track surface and this new tire model, there's a lot of unknowns going on. So I don't know, Chris, that'd be one moment where I probably would have played it more safe than sorry.
Yeah, I'd say discretion is the better part of valor, but apparently just send it kind of outweighed that. with some of those drivers. You know, they are some of the quicker drivers we had starting towards the back today. So could just have been maybe a sense of being a little bit frantic early on in the event.
So we have had some pit road takers. Most interestingly of which is Richard Regan Jr., our winner from last week. Even after that half a lap stint, he has decided to take a pit stop. Joining him is Jay Felton, Edward Perry, Rob Haynes, Baron Hilton, Paul Williams, and Adam Zemke. Of course, Adam Zemke and Baron Hilton and Rob Haynes all involved in that incident that we saw on lap 1.
Well, the best part about strategy is when it works, you're a genius, and when it doesn't, nobody notices it anyway. So maybe some smart moves here early on could be setting us up for an even better finish.
So we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on that number 46 truck of Richard Regan Jr., who's going to be starting in the 28th position as he will get going forward, no doubt, when we get back to the restart.
Now, is it true that Texas Motor Speedway is home to like the world's biggest jumbotron screen or something like that?
Yeah, it appears that it's one of the biggest by far. It's I think it might be the second biggest right now in the sports world, but definitely a great place to watch the races once we all get back out of the houses, and it's a great place to watch a race, and especially with this new layout, it's definitely a different kind of track than it has been in the past.
That's right. They call it Big Hoss. Our director reminding us of that. I knew they had some kind of goofy Texas name for it.
Well, as we get ready to get going again, a couple of notable movers. We've had Dominic Begine he started off 11th, and he's up to 8th now. Blaine Adams started off 13th. He's now up to 10th. Josue Tellez up to 11th. I'm trying to see who it was that fell back so far. But Stacy Hunter has gained 5 positions, starting off in 23rd and getting up to 18th position, with John LaBeouf moving up 6 positions, up to 19th position. So we've already had some big movers and shakers here, and that wasn't even back in the wreck, Chris.
Yeah, this track has a lot of room for racing, so there's a lot of opportunity, especially when everybody's bunched up there at the start. If you play your cards right, it's not that out of the question to make some big moves.
The lights are off on the Mustang pace car, which means everyone's going to be lining up double file. It's going to be Daniel Knight starting alongside Colton Lane. Then you have Bradley Hawley, who's moved up 2 positions. He is now in 3rd, lining up behind Daniel Knight. Then we have Ken Huber, who's dropped back a couple positions to 4th, and Jared Mogard. Then Mike Eames is going to be starting alongside Dominic Begine. Thomas Sink, Blaine Adams, and Brendan Chatley are going to round out your top 10. As they get back to the restart, they will be starting, and they will be beginning lap 6 when they get the green flag. So as they line up and get going down the straightaway, what is the best strategy if you're Colton Lane on the outside line, Chris? Do you stay a little bit back and try and anticipate when Daniel Knight's going to go, or do you try and beat him to the punch once you get into the restart zone?
Maybe if we didn't have a driver like Bradley Hawley starting P3, I'd think maybe lay back and try to shove your way down there. But he might just have to give it his all and hope that he can make the outside work.
Well, we're about to find out whether whichever strategy he picks is the best one, because the Mustang pace car has pulled off Daniel Knight. We'll see whether he waits. He does not this time. He gets a big jump on Colton Lane and Bradley Hawley, as Colton Lane actually does manage to slot in front of the 184 truck as they start going on the front straightaway. Here they go, entering 1 and 2, which has been profiled to be less banking than 3 and 4.
Yeah, Daniel Knight with a shotgun start there, just flying on the start, caught the field napping, but it worked out great for Colton Lane, who looks like he may be starting to take a peek to the inside. Not going to happen that time, and don't look now, but you have the 184 of Bradley Hawley looking for somewhere to go in 3rd.
As they exit 3 and 4, you can see the right rear damage on Ken Hoover's truck that is pushing that wing up into the air, and it's actually causing him to hold up Mike Eames and Jared Mogard, who are battling side by side behind him. And that's our first side by side battle. Then you have to go all the way back to 10th to see another one. As wow, the trucks are getting extremely tight as they exit 1 and 2.
Yeah, this track is definitely an aero-dependent track, so if you got some body damage and something goofed up, especially back towards that spoiler, you're going to be in for a long day.
That is Thomas Sink in the 48 truck that you see below Dominic Pagine. Thomas Sink, known for being aggressive early on in these races. He's taken that bottom line, and that bottom line is definitely the line to take through 1 and 2 as the banking just completely falls off as you go back onto the backstretch. But you can see that 184 truck of Bradley Holly in that third position, poking his nose out from behind Colton Lane. On board with Bradley Holly now as he chases the back of Colton Lane. We've seen him do this in races past where he likes to sit right there in the trail of the truck ahead of him for a couple of laps, trying to see whether or not he can size up the driver ahead's potential.
And it's not a bad move. I mean, why put yourself at risk trying to pass somebody when you can sit back and wait for them to make a mistake and basically open the door for you.
3 and 4, Bradley Holly still content to sit there back behind the wing of Colton Lane. But one thing to note is that Richard Regan Jr. in that 46 truck has moved up significantly since taking his pit stop. He is now up to the 22nd position as we see Bradley Holly moving to the inside of Colton Lane, and there's a little bit of a holdup behind them as Ken Hoover looks like he hit the outside wall.
Well, I can say from my years of experience in the world of motorsports, hitting the wall is something you don't want to do.
Ken Hoover successfully navigating himself back into the 5th position. Bradley Holly was able to move up into 2nd place and has now gapped Colton Lane by about a quarter of a second here. So Ken Hoover looks like he's being aggressive, but it might not be paying off for him this early with Mike Eames in the John Deere truck behind him. You see it, a big bottle up behind what is now Jared Mogard leading this pack as they claw their way forward towards Colton Lane. But it's getting very tight there between 4th to 7th.
Yeah, nice little battle we have going there with drivers that seem to be minding their P's and Q's right now.
Ooh, and there goes Mike Eames to the inside, looking to the inside, and that's Thomas Sink looking to the inside as well. Mike Eames chops him off going through the corner, which forces Thomas Sink up to the high side. He's definitely going to get held up here as Dominic Pagine retakes the position on the low side as they exit 3 and 4. Dominic Pagine with a better run. He's going to be able to clear him before they get to 1 and 2. Thomas Sink's going to have to drop down and get into that first line.
Yeah, Sink unfortunately forced right out of the groove, and especially right now at this point in the race, that's not where you want to be here at Texas Motor Speedway.
As we're looking, Jared Mogard has moved up to the back of Colton Lane, who is managing to just barely hang on to the back of Bradley Holly for that 2nd position. But Jared Mogard doing very good, moving himself forward in that 00 truck. But look behind them, it is still side by side between Dominic Pagine and Thomas Sink as they go through 3 and 4.
Yeah, still a good little battle we have going on with about 4 different trucks right now. Thomas Sink, the leader of that little battle.
And this is Blaine Adams looking to the inside, and he's still there as Dominic Pagine tried to come down to the bottom side. But Thomas Sink just trying to sneak away from these two. Dominic Pagine being very aggressive, trying to come back at Blaine Adams here. Is he going to look to the low side entering 1 and 2? No, he's going to decide to stay in.
And Jose Tellez up there in the mix as well, kind of lurking back there. He started 14th, already moved up close to a handful of spots, and looking to make his way further forward with a strong group of cars ahead of him.
Dominic Pagine looks to the inside of Blaine Adams as they go through 3 and 4. And it is very close side by side between the two of them as Dominic Pagine manages to hold it on that bottom line. But Chris, at what point are these tires going to start to give up on them? This track is very hot today.
It is a hot track, but it's a relatively new surface as well, so keep that in mind. Maybe a little bit easier on the tires as they are 3 wide coming off a turn 2.
Oh, Josue Tellez decides he's going to back out of that one. Oh, as Blaine Adams drifts a little bit high on the entrance of 3 and 4, almost getting into Dominic Bajin, but they're still going to be side by side as they exit 3 and 4. This is the battle for the 8th position. And who's going to get it at the line? It's going to be Dominic Bajin, who still holds it at the line just barely. Fascinating to see there. Dominic Bajin getting a better run on that high side as Josue Tellez now looks to the high side, 3 and 4 of Blaine Adams. It's going to be interesting to see where that line develops, Chris, to see what the advantage is as we get going on later in these runs.
Yeah, and I think another huge factor is going to be that difference between the two ends of the track. I really think that is something that keeps drivers on their toes when you can't just drive one corner like the last. I think it really makes things interesting as we have a battle shaping up now for the top spot. Daniel Knight beginning to have to watch his mirrors a little bit as Bradley Holly begins to run him down.
Yeah, Bradley Holly has been making gains into Daniel Knight. He's got it down to 0.3 of a second here. But that being said, I don't think he's in any hurry to get up there, Chris. He's got a lot of time left on the clock to get this done, as Colton Lane looks like he might actually be catching back up to the back of Bradley Holly. And I think it might be because Bradley Holly might be conserving his stuff.
Yeah, well, we've mentioned earlier in the broadcast that it's his style to kind of play things a little slow and steady. So not too surprised to see him hanging back a little bit and just waiting for the right opportunity to come up before he strikes.
And you may have seen it in the background. That was Josue Tellez getting around Blaine Adams. So with that settled, they've actually got a big train behind them. Dominic Bajin being the leader of this train. And it goes all the way back to Mike Richter in 16th. So they're getting help. They're holding each other up there as they go through these corners. Daniel Knight still holding the lead over Bradley Holly as we look back and we see Colton Lane being caught up by Jared Mogart. Jared Mogart catching up to the back of Colton Lane as looks like Bradley Holly has gained significantly on Daniel Knight just over the last couple laps, and now we get a little bit of shade as well. So things starting to get very interesting here as far as the dynamic weather is concerned.
Yeah, it looks like the sun may have peaked behind a cloud, and now Bradley Holly beginning to peak around the 17 of Daniel Knight.
He definitely was looking towards the inside, exiting 1 and 2, but that truck's starting to get a little loose on him. He's struggling for grip down there on the bottom side. Daniel Knight just drifting a little bit high through 1 and 2, which gave Bradley Holly the inclination to look towards that low side. But if Bradley doesn't get a move on soon, Colton Lane's going to be there as well. But look at this, Daniel Knight blocking that inside as effectively as he can. Bradley Holly pretty much bump drafting him. He's going to dive to the inside 1 and 2.
So Holly and Knight now going to be side by side as they come off of turn 2. They'll head down the back straightaway, and Jared Mogard looking for somewhere to go as well. Is he going to split the difference?
Drops down to the bottom of Colton Lane for that third position. Bradley Holly leading right now as they go through 3 and 4. But Daniel Knight trying to hold strong on that high side. Colton Lane not able to make it work either. Looks like the bottom lane is going to prevail this time through. Bradley Holly able to go through, but Jared Bogard taking away that third position. He's looking for second now. He dives it down to the bottom of Daniel Knight, who's going to have to back it off through 1 and 2 and lose a lot of time. But Jared Bogard sloughed the corner as well. That's Colton Lane looking to the low side. They're going to go 3 wide down the backstretch.
Well, Colton Lane not backing out of it. He'll go right to the line, and they are 3 wide into turn number 3. Mogard in the middle will have the advantage. He comes off turn number 4, still in the second position, and this has got to make Bradley Holly very happy watching him duke it out for second as he tries to drive off into the sunset.
Colton Lane there on the bottom for that third position. Daniel Knight just stuck on that high side, and here comes Ken Huber after his early struggles. He's back up here in the battle. He's in 5th, looking in on this battle for the third position. Here he comes looking down the low side, and Daniel Knight's just going to get stuck up there in the high side. Oh, Colton Lane getting extremely squirrely through 3 and 4 on the entrance. This is going to pack up Ken Huber as well as Daniel Knight, who had to make evasive moves. But look at that, Colton Lane still holding on to the position as they cross the line. And this has brought Mike Eames into the picture as well. That John Deere truck behind him, John Deere Chevy. He's looking on this battle. Ken Hoover now is going to be on the inside of Daniel Knight. He's going to be trying to look to take that position away. Daniel Knight just not finding any respite, Chris.
Yeah, Daniel Knight had the lead wrestled away from him, and now he's had to put his elbows out, and just about everybody's trying to take a shot at him, it seems like.
So I'm looking at the lap times, and Bradley Hawley's best lap in this race is a 30.105. His last lap, Bradley Hawley, the leader of this race, was a 31.049. So they are nearly a second off pace here as we start getting on later in the race.
Well, you didn't talk about the hot conditions out there.
Oh, no!
We have a caution.
This is a huge incident. This was Daniel Knight and Thomas and Mike Eames, and this was going around the lap truck of Baron Hilton. We're going to take a look at Bradley Hawley here as he's just getting it woed down off the corner, but that was rough.
Yeah, Daniel Knight is, unfortunately, his day went from bad to worse.
And what this looked like to me is coming off of 3 and 4, Daniel Knight was trying to get to the inside, trying to stay away from Baron Hilton, who was the lap truck on the outside, and came down into Mike Eames, who didn't realize that Daniel Knight was taking that lower line. We're going to see it here as they exit 3 and 4. That was a hard hit for Baron Hilton, as well as that was another truck who got collected in that. I'm going to have to go back and check who that was.
I believe the 59 of Brendan Chatley getting caught up there towards the end as well. And if you get motion sick, you might want to look away.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at Brendan Chatley's incident here as he comes up on this quite quickly, and oh yeah, he definitely got a significant amount of front end damage. That
Looked like that just about killed the 59 machine.
Well, everyone is coming into the pits now. I'm guessing that stint was a little bit too long to try and stay out and do a strategy call on tires, so it's up to the pit crews and up to whether or not anyone takes 2 tires. You think anyone's going to take 2, Chris?
The way the tires kind of fell off, I wouldn't advise it, but then again, track position may be at a premium, so we could possibly see that happen as well.
Oh, look at this. Jared Moger with a very good stop. Is he going to be able to get out ahead of Bradley Hawley? Yes, he is. Bradley Hawley getting relegated to second as Jared Moger got an excellent stop. 0.2 of a second quicker, and he was 0.4 of a second quicker on the lane. Well, as they sort themselves out and get lined back up, we're going to take a break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Come on back and take a look and watch the rest of the race with us for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series in a moment. welcome back to the Precision Racing League Truck Series here on the GSRC, sponsored by Diecast Kings. What a fantastic race we've had so far. It's gone it's gone pretty clean. We only had 2 cautions so far. We're on lap 32 going into lap 33. Our leaders as they run right now, Jared Mogard alongside Bradley Hawley. Colton Lane is going to start alongside Ken Huber, and Dominic Magine is going to start alongside Blaine Adams, and those are your top 3 rows as they get ready to go. Pace lights are out on the Mustang. What are you expecting with this restart, Chris?
I can say it's definitely going to be exciting.
It's absolutely going to be exciting with Bradley Hawley lined up on that outside spot. Jared Mogard starting the race for the first time. This is the first restart we've had without Damon Knight out front, and being involved in the latest incident. He is now called it quits, but the pace car pulls off, and Jared Mogard is now your starter. He's waiting, and now he goes. He goes quite a bit early. Bradley Hawley dropping in behind Jared Mogard. Ken Huber's going to take over that 3rd position, and he's actually alongside Colton Lane for 3rd, with Blaine Adams and Dominic Magine close in behind.
And a pretty solid start for the 00 of Jared Mogard, but Bradley Hawley already looking to the inside as they head down the back straight.
Hawley taking no time to try and make it to the front. He looked to the inside on Jared Mogard down that back straight, but these new tires are going to make it very difficult to pass here on these opening laps. But look at the speed they're carrying through 3 and 4. New rubber. Oh, and we have a big moment. That's the 66 and the 33. That is Dominic Magine and Blaine Adams. Blaine Adams involved again.
Well, I think we made the mistake of talking about how clean of a race it's been so far, Adam.
So this was Dominic Magine and Blaine Adams, and it looked like Blaine Adams just got a little bit loose coming off of 4. Dominic Magine with nowhere to go. We're going to see it right here.
Yeah, they door slapped off a turn 4 and just sent them both through the grass.
Fortunately for both of them, it doesn't look like either of them got any damage off of that, and since nobody else seems to be involved, a little bit of right front damage on Dominic Magine, but it looks like this might be recoverable for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is going to be some damage, but it didn't look too significant. As Beijing looks like he's going to head down pit road.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we have taken a couple of pit lane takers. This is Colton Lane that we're on board with. He's decided to come in from the 3rd position. Charles Sumner's also decided to come in. He was in the top 10. And we had Charles Sumner and Adam Young, who also weren't involved in this latest wreck, but I know that Sumner was involved in the last wreck. He's also decided to come in and take a pit stop. And this looks like for fuel only. So this is a fascinating strategy call here, Chris.
Yeah, we had a couple takers in that first caution we had several laps ago as well. Wondered if maybe they're playing some fuel strategy to maybe make it a little easier to get to the end.
That's definitely a consideration they have to take, but with Colton Lane taking that pit stop, that promotes Ken Huber back up into the 3rd position. Blaine Adams, even after being involved in that incident, is being scored currently in 4th, so he didn't lose anything from having that incident.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair point, Adam.
So the weather has remained relatively the same. It's actually gone down a little bit since we started the race. The track temperature, it's down 3 degrees, down to 114. And it looks like a pretty staunch day out there for these drivers. This new track surface has been absorbing the heat very well. We haven't seen the tire fall off as much as I would have expected up to this point, Chris. And like you said, the new track surface must be helping out.
Yeah, a little bit less abrasive than some of the older ones would be with this kind of heat.
So Colton Lane and Adam Young are back in the pits. Interesting strategy again. I think you're right that they're definitely trying to go to the end on fuel. I think it's maybe a little bit premature to expect it to go all the way to the end of the race without having another caution at this point.
Yeah, but you got to think, even if you've topped it off here and there is another caution, you're still going to have more in the tank than anybody else, so it's still going to take a little bit less time to fill it up. maybe when we get towards the end.
And that might open up the door to a two-tire strategy if you're thinking about it. And also, like you said at the beginning of the race, if you're the one who makes the strategy call work, you're considered a genius. So maybe these guys are taking one and trying it out for the team, I suppose.
Sometimes just gotta send it.
Well, one person who's definitely going to send it is Bradley Hawley in that second position. We saw him get right back on the rear bumper of Jared Mogard, looking to the inside of 1 and 2 on that last restart. He was definitely thinking about moving quickly forward. Ken Huber, though, has struggled on all of the restarts we've had today, all 3 that we've had so far. He slipped back multiple positions on each one. It's only because of Colton Lane pitting that Ken Huber has regained that 3rd position, and Blaine Adams had just had a moment going through the grass in the tri-oval, and he's back up to 4th rather. But interestingly enough, Matt Santel is a driver that we have not talked a lot about today, and as the pace lights go off on the pace car, he is sitting in that 6th position, and he was definitely very strong last week, Chris, and here he is up there in the top 10.
Well, he kind of had a similar run last week where he was there at the end. Just a quiet, consistent run, and he's kind of in that same boat today. Started 17th, and he's right up there in the mix. So a pretty solid run today for Matt Santel.
One driver who took an early pit stop on our first caution and is now running in the top 10 is Richard Regan Jr. He's down in the 8th position, and he's definitely looking to regain those spots. He started off in 8th, so he's back up to where he was before we went under caution and before he went to the pits. So
now
Jared Moger. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, they say everything's bigger in Texas, and I guess that's true for caution laps. I'm ready to go racing, and unfortunately we got to wait behind that pace car.
Well, I know Jared Mogard and especially Bradley Hawley are ready to go racing. The pace car's about to pull off. Jared Mogard going to lead them to the line. When does he decide to go? He waits, and now he goes. He gets another good jump on Bradley Hawley, who slips in ahead of Ken Huber. Blaine Adams stuck on the outside. Matt Santel slotting in behind them. He's lost a significant amount of time with Thomas Sink battling with him for the 6th position.
Yep, already the battles are on as looks like the 33 goes way up the track there through 1 and 2.
But Bradley Hawley there battling with Jared Mogard for the lead. He's down on the inside of 3 and 4. Jared Mogard, he's got the speed to contend with it, but not the grip. He can't hang on the outside. Bradley Hawley up to the lead of the race for the first time today. Well, for the second time today, rather, as Jared Mogard chasing him down, trying to battle him out. Oh, he almost clips it in the right rear, going into 1 and 2. But these trucks definitely heavily affected by that aero drag.
Yeah, the 00 with Jared Mogard, definitely not one shy about making big moves, and you got to believe he's going to be pretty hungry to try to get back up front.
Battling behind them is Matt Santel and Thomas Sink for the 5th position. Santel stuck on the outside. That's not the place he wants to be right now. He loses that position. Mike Richter chasing in behind him with James O'Brien, another driver we haven't talked about, and then Blaine Adams in the 10th position, or the 9th position rather, who's giving it over to Brandon Walter as we speak. But Matt Santel going backwards right now, Chris.
And how about that little pop-up on your screen there? Richard Regan Jr. setting the fastest lap of the race. So your winner from a week ago beginning to turn up the wick as we get in the latter stages of this event.
Going on board with Matt Santel to see what's ailing him. He's been stuck on that high side over the last couple of laps. He started in 17th up to 8th position, and he is struggling a little bit on this last restart.
Yeah, with these newer surfaces, another thing that's pretty important is where the track starts to rubber in, and you kind of vary from where that line is, and you're going to be having a bad time. And looks like that may be part of what's happening to Santel.
Up front, we have the battle for the lead. Jared Mogard definitely looking to do something interesting with Bradley Hawley there, looking to the outside, and right behind them is Richard Regan Jr., the man we talked about with the fastest lap. He just pitted another fastest lap, a 30.030. That's faster than we had in qualifying. And here comes Jared Mogard looking to the inside of Bradley Hawley through 3 and 4. Bradley carries a little bit more speed through and is able to retain that position. But here comes Regan Jr.
You definitely can't count out Jared Mogard. He's a hard charger. and he's going to be looking to do whatever he can to get that lead back.
Behind them, oh wow, they're getting very, very close between each other. Richard Regan Jr. very close to the back of Jared Bogart. He's going to look to the inside here as we exit one, but that just does not carry quite enough speed. He's trying to get there to the inside. He's trying to signal to Jared he wants to go through, but Jared cuts him off going through 3 and 4.
Your top 3 trucks nose to tail right now, Adam, and 4th place there isn't looking too far back either.
No, Thomas Sink definitely closing very quickly, and he's actually right to the back of Richard Regan Jr., who looks to the inside out of 1 and 2. Again, this time he has it. He is there. He's established the position. He's going to have it going through 3 and 4 here as Jared Mogart stuck to that high side out where the rubber is not. He's going to lose a little bit of grip out there, start to push out a little bit as they go through 3 and 4. He's lost that position, and here is Thomas Sink looking on the back of Jared Mogart. He's going to go to the outside and try and carry some speed into 1 and 2, but Jared Mogart not done yet. He looks to the inside again, but nothing doing. Richard Regan Jr. solidifies 2nd place.
So Thomas Sink, another one of those hard-charging drivers, has a great battle, or a great view of that battle in front of him, and you got to believe his trigger finger's itching. He wants to get up in the mix right now himself.
Thomas Sink there in the 4th position as we ride on board with him. We're looking at the back of that fantastic Jared Mogart machine, the double I, and Richard Regan Jr., I think he's got his eyes set on Bradley Holly. He is not done yet. He wants to keep moving forward, Chris.
Well, Regan showed what he had last week when he took the win, and now he's trying to back that up with a strong run tonight. And the way these two have been running so far in the opening events of this season, you got to believe we may be looking at what our championship battle is going to look like as well.
Just a report on Blaine Adams, who started off in 3rd position. He has fallen all the way back down to 12th. Something's not right with that car after that jaunt through the grass, so he's not doing very well. And we're taking a look at O'Brien and Richter. They're almost side by side there as they come off the corner. And this is for the 5th position. Mike Richter going to the inside of James O'Brien as they go through 3 and 4. He's going to have that position handily as they come off the corner. But we should get back to that lead battle because Richard Regan Jr. is trying something on the outside of Bradley Holly through 1 and 2. Just not enough grip out there. He's going to have to slot back in. He just got a little bit too tight out there. But here's Jared Mogart taking an opportunity. He's going to look to the inside for 3 and 4. But he thinks better of it and backs out here. Gives an opportunity to Thomas Sink, who's looking at the outside of Jared Bogart. They keep trading blows like this, Chris. There's going to be fire.
You know, I got to say, Adam, this race has ran very different than I expected. With this new Texas layout, I figured there was going to be one driver out there that just everything clicked for and we'd see them drive off into the sunset. But that has definitely not been the case. We've had about consistently 3 or 4 trucks up front battling all race long.
Yeah, and Chris, the other thing I didn't expect was how much effect the draft would have for these trucks that were behind the leader. The lead truck cannot get away on these new tires, and the trucks behind seem to really be able to tow right up to the back of them on these long straights.
And we're seeing that right now with Richard Regan once again sucking right up to the back bumper of Bradley Holly. But the problem gets to right about this point on the track when there's a chance to make a move, and unfortunately, the momentum isn't quite there enough to make a pass.
And I believe we're seeing the tires start to fall off because Thomas Sink got right up to the back of Jared Mogart so quickly a couple laps ago in that 4th position, that 4th truck in line. He is unable to do so this time around. He just has been about 0.2 seconds behind them this entire time and cannot get in position to try and make a pass. Richard Regan dives it very deep through 1 and 2. He's all the way up towards the wall. It almost clips it, exiting the corner. Managed to keep it off, but that was very close.
We definitely cannot say that Richard Regan isn't laying it all out there today.
Richard Regan looking for every possible way that he can go. We're going to go on board with him and see just how much he's struggling and see whether or not the front tires are starting to give on that thing as he's been stuck behind Bradley Holly in the draft. He peeks his nose a little bit lower than Holly's, trying to get some fresh air, some helpful air on that front left bumper, trying to get some moves done. But he's stuck in behind Bradley Holly, and he's definitely pushing, but those tires are starting to give way.
Yeah, as if passing Bradley Holly wasn't hard enough, you're going to have to try to do it with tires that have aged a little bit. That sounds like a task that I would definitely not want to take up.
Richard Regan Jr. looking to the outside there, trying to get a little bit of an interesting line, maybe late apex the corner, but here he goes drifting up to that high side again and almost getting into the wall. Looks like his truck's getting neutral on him, Chris.
Yeah, that could present some difficulties here as this run goes on.
Oh,
as it looks like Thomas Sink might be making a move.
He's getting close for sure, but Richard Regan almost got into the back of Bradley Holly there as they exited 3 and 4, got Bradley a little bit loose. Richard Regan looks like he's preferring that high line, but Jared Mogard has a big run, and he's going to look to the inside. No, Richard Regan Jr. moving down to block that inside line, keeping Jared Mogard behind him, but he's going to slow both of them up as they go through 3 and 4, and here comes Thomas Sink with a head of steam. Does he have enough momentum to get to the inside? No, he does not. He stays in line.
Well, this is definitely going to be what Bradley Holly wants to see in his rearview mirror.
Bradley Holly enjoying the view of Richard Regan falling back a little bit. Jared Mogard falling as well as Thomas Sink. But here we go. We're starting to hit that transition point. Their laps are now getting into the 30.9 to 31 range. So they've already lost a second of time on these tires. So this is when things start to get very difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard chargers out there, and man, I still can't believe the top 4 have just been locked together like that for the last, gosh, it's got to be going on 20 laps now.
And it's not just the top 4, Chris. All the way back in 5th position, Mike Richter's still been trying to hold off James O'Brien for that 5th position. As we see everyone go by, it's nose to tail all the way through the field.
Yeah, and how about James O'Brien back there in 6th spot? Was a non-qualifier, started 31st, and has marched his way up to 6th in a very stout field. So there's a little asterisk next to that hard charger award, but nonetheless, that is a tough challenge to make it up through the field like that.
Oh my goodness, Richard Regan Jr. has been sent around by Jared Mogard in the lead of the field. He's in the middle of the track. Everyone scrambles to avoid. Well, it looks like they're going to manage to. Richard Regan Jr. minimizing the damage by locking down the car. He came off the nose of Jared Mogard. This was an intense incident, an intense moment of blocking all the way down to the white line.
It looks like Richard Regan may not be very happy.
And we're going to take a look at this again. This is on the backstretch here, and here we go. Jared Mogard blocking all the way down to the white line. Richard Regan, rather, blocking all the way down to the white line. And Jared Mogard trying to take the speed into the corner, just gets into his back bumper and unfortunately takes him out.
Yeah, we can get a view there. Mogard gets right to the bumper and then just taps him in the left rear quarter and sends him around.
That might have been a little bit of a tap on the shoulder of displeasure there from Jared Mogard, but Richard Regan is not going to have the same fate as the 33 of Blaine Adams. He has fallen significantly back at this point, whereas Jared Mogard retaining that 2nd position as they come into their pit stop.
Well, I think as race fans, we can kind of call a spade there. That was a pretty bold block by the 46. So definitely not what we wanted to see for the sake of the racing, and I'm sure not what he wanted to see for his race, but I gotta say it's probably live by the sword, die by the sword type of move there.
Well, Bradley Holly leads them off of pit road with Thomas Sink in 2nd, Mike Richter in 3rd, and Jared Mogard taking an extremely long stop in that 00 truck. I believe he might have gotten a penalty. So as the trucks reorganize themselves and get ready to get restarted, we're going to take a short break here on the GSRC, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back for the rest of the race. We are entering lap 60 here in the PRL Truck Series. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Precision Racing League Truck Series here on the GSRC, sponsored by Diecast Kings. We are getting ready to get restarted here. It will be lap 62 when they cross the line. And the running order as they run right now, it is Bradley Hawley in first, with lining up alongside him is Thomas Sink with Mike Richter, James O'Brien, and Rob Haynes rounding out your top five. All right, if you're Thomas Sink, you've been aggressive with Bradley Hawley all day. How do you beat him on this restart?
Well, you got to think Bradley Hawley is going to be very strong on the restart, so you're going to have your work cut out for you. I think your best bet is to try to keep pace with them, or at the very least, try to get in a good spot to make an entry into turn one.
Bradley Hawley does not wait long at all, but Thomas Sink gets a good start as well. He's going to be in danger of crossing the line ahead of Bradley Hawley. He has to back off a little bit, which gives Hawley the momentum. So Thomas Sink still side by side as they go through 1 and 2. He stays high so that he can slot in behind him, but there's a battle side by side between Mike Richter and James O'Brien for that third position, with Rob Haynes looking on in the background as well.
Yeah, it looks like after pit stops and that last caution, we have a whole new set of players towards the front of the field. Bradley Hawley's still the one consistent up there, but it's going to be a whole new cast of players for this one. It's going to change things up here in the latter stages of this event.
That is Mike Richter who made the pass on Rob Haynes and James O'Brien. James O'Brien is falling from third down to fifth right now. He's going to be able to slot in behind that group, but it is very thick and fast up there, and Thomas Sink looks like he's struggling a little bit on those new tires.
Now, how about Rob Haynes that we're taking a look at right now? Did not get a qualifying attempt in, started the race 32nd, was involved in our very first caution, and now is running in the top 5 here at the end of the race.
Shows that you should never give up on a race, no matter how much not no matter how much damage you have, but if it's repairable, get back out there and race, because you never know where you're going to end up. Rob Haynes in that fourth position. We're riding on board with Mike Richter, looking back towards Rob Haynes, who's being caught by James O'Brien in the 44 truck. You might see the white nose of that truck poke out a little bit here and there. Chris, it's getting very tight here, and we've seen this before. We've seen this on every restart. This draft seems to be really in effect here.
Yeah, and as such, Thomas Sink is getting a heck of a run on Bradley Hawley up front. Fades back a little bit through the center of the corner there, but it looks like he may be setting himself up for a pretty good run down the back straightaway.
Now it looks like Thomas Sink is trying to set himself up for a run, maybe trying to push Bradley Hawley a little bit deep into the corner. But interestingly enough, I mean, we know how good Bradley Hawley is in these trucks. He's won multiple championships. Thomas Sink trying to get a better angle off the corner, but Bradley Hawley just driving to the maximum of that truck's potential to stay ahead.
Yeah, if you're trying to make somebody or intimidate somebody into making a mistake, Bradley Hawley may not be the driver you want to try that move on.
But as they've been going, you see just how much that draft effect comes into play. That's Mike Richter catching up to the back of Rob Haynes, and James O'Brien and Ken Huber are following them through as well. So this is now a 6-car battle for the lead.
Yeah, it was unexpected to me to have 4 trucks battling through the middle portion of the race. I'm going to say it's even less expected to have 6 of them all battling up front here at the end.
It's not that we don't expect Mike Richter and Rob Haynes to be fast, but we've seen how good Bradley Hawley and Thomas Sink are at just taking off from the field. But the way that Texas is built, the way that this mile-and-a-half track operates, Bradley Hawley just unable to get away, and this draft really affecting these trucks heavily as they go through, enter into 1 and 2 again.
And the engine package on these NASCAR trucks also makes this very similar to a super speedway type style of racing, where it's a lot about momentum, a lot about keeping the truck wound up. And the draft, as we found out, is playing a huge role today as well.
Ken Huber in that yellow goldish truck looking to the inside of James O'Brien. He's going to get that 5th position away, completed on that lap here. They go into 1 and 2, and James O'Brien trying to stick it strong on the outside, but he's going to have to slot behind as that truck just not working well in that second line right now. Right behind them, we have a pack of 3 trucks. This is Matt Santel, Paul Williams, and Austin Hunter, who are catching up to the back of this as well. This is going to make this a 9-truck battle for the lead, Chris.
This is absolute insanity. I never thought I'd become this big of a fan of Texas Motor Speedway, but here I am loving it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I found the track a little dull before too, but this has made things really interesting. And Ken Huber, you see him there trying to take a look on Rob Haynes. Rob Haynes having to dive down to the inside early through 3 and 4 to block that move. That backs up Ken Huber, which makes James O'Brien in that 6th position, which start to pull up towards the back of them as Matt Santel starting to pull up to the back of James O'Brien. This really has become a 9-truck battle for the lead.
Yeah, everybody so far playing nice. We're just under 15 to go, but that pay window is going to be opening here soon, and once the money's out, sometimes the drivers stop being nice.
Yeah, Chris, with us unknown of whether we're not going to get another caution here, what is go time? Your tires are starting to go, your fuel's winding down, the laps are winding down. When do you make your move?
Now, knowing Thomas Sink, I'm honestly surprised he hasn't gone for it yet. But with the possibility of another caution, things could get a little dicey here any time now.
As we see them run 9 trucks in a line, 9 trucks really nose to tail there as Bradley Holly ahead of Thomas Sink. Thomas Sink looking every which way. He's trying to psych Bradley Holly out, it looks like.
Yeah, Bradley Holly trying to hold strong up front, but Thomas Sink just not giving him anywhere to go. He's going to be right to the back bumper as they head off into turn number 3. And then the 51 of Mike Richter just there lurking, trying to find somewhere to go. But so far, nothing happening. Everybody keeping it in a straight line as we're closing in soon on the 10 lap to go mark. And looks like Richter beginning to take a peek to the inside of Sink as they come off a turn 2. He's going to look to the inside as they head down the back straightaway. And that's going to allow the 184 of Holly to build a little bit of a gap. 2/10, usually not a huge gap, but right now with the way these drivers have been racing, it's a pretty good breathing space.
It definitely is. Mike Richter looking to the back of Thomas Sink. Bradley Holly having pulled ahead a little bit. Ken Huber being challenged by James O'Brien. There's a lot of smaller battles making their way out, but Mike Richter losing a lot of time there through 1 and 2 as he gets pushed wide.
Yeah, getting out of the groove is not something you're going to want to do on the track with a surface that is as new as Texas.
Well, it looks like Brett Adams got pushed way out of the groove. He's very slow on the track right now in that 23 truck through 3 and 4, and that's jumble up everybody behind. I'm going to do a replay of this and take a look at just what happened to that 23 truck. So here they go through 1 and 2. Looks like he just got into the corner a little early, washes way up high on the track, and he actually hits the wall, and that really bottles up everyone behind him. The 66 truck, that's Dominic Pagine, who we've talked about before. He had to slow up a lot. Going to go on board with Adam Young as he watches this happen. He's going to go, wow, he's going to split this just barely. Everyone trying to be very careful there through the corner.
Yeah, the pucker factor on that one was very high.
One driver who's definitely going to not be making his way back to the top is Richard Regan Jr. After taking a long pit stop and starting in the 23rd position, he's only been able to make himself get up to the top 17. So he's been stuck behind John Labatt for the last couple of laps, and he's not making any progress.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Regan there, for sure. He's one of the top runners we had last week and this week.
Well, as we take a look at our battle for the lead, Bradley Holly has started to pull away from Thomas Sink there in this race, and Mike Richter has been gapped significantly from the back of Sink to the likes of 0.6 seconds. So as these tires start to wear, the pace is starting to go, but Richter actually under challenge now from Ken Huber, who gets a better run off of 1 and 2. You see it there on the track. Ken Huber down to the inside, trying to make the pass work on Mike Richter. Mike Richter getting extremely loose there, and now is getting passed by James O'Brien, who's following Huber through.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult to maintain position going wide like that. So, unfortunately, he's going to have to give up a couple slots on the track, and it's going to possibly give him a chance to try and run down your top runners here with 6 laps to go.
All right, so as he settles out, Mike Richter is going to slot all the way back from 3rd down to 6th position as we watch the battle between Thomas Sink and Bradley Hawley. And Mike Richter, he's not done losing positions yet because he's being challenged by Matt Sentel now as they go through the trial. And this is now a very, very long train, Chris. This is from 3rd all the way down back to 9th. This train goes of trucks, and look at that, Sentel looking to the inside, Mike Richter being defensive there through the corner, down the straight rather, as Sentel has to back off. This brings Paul Williams back into play.
Those defensive moves haven't always worked out today, so Sentel playing with fire a little bit, but looks like the battle for the lead might be heating back up here in just a moment.
With 4 to go, Thomas Sink is trying to reel back in Bradley Hawley. Hawley, though, being very consistent on that truck. He seems to really understand, especially through 1 and 2, how to get a good exit off of that corner. So make their way exiting 3 and 4. The draft comes back into effect, and Thomas Sink catches back up. But watch Bradley Hawley's line as they go through 1 and 2. And the way that he manages to get the truck to exit.
Yeah, he's really able to get a kind of a late apex toward the middle of the corner, and that's really allowing him to have a pretty strong drive off.
So Thomas Sink trying to catch up to the back there as we come to 3 to go, I believe this time. It's going to be very, very... I don't know if Thomas Sink has enough for him, Chris.
Yeah, with just a couple of laps left, that's not been easy goings as far as passing goes in this race.
Wow, there's some very tight racing behind them, though. That is Ken Huber in 3rd place, trying to hold off James O'Brien. James O'Brien almost pushing him through the corners now as we come down to the white flag lap. Bradley Hawley's going to get white flag this time by. Not an eventless day for Bradley Hawley as Ken Huber being challenged on the outside by James O'Brien. James O'Brien going to have to slot in behind them. But Bradley Hawley, what a race he has had. Consistency all day. And even though he was challenged by by Regan for quite a while, Bradley Hawley, though, coming off of turn 3 and 4 with a very consistent day, a very strong day, holding off the field all day. He's going to win it here at Texas. And Thomas Sink comes home behind him. Ken Huber was able to hold on to 3rd with James O'Brien managing to hold 4th, and Rob Haynes coming home in the 5th position. A great start for him.
Yeah, pretty great race we had here today, Adam.
Well, we're going to take a very short break here on the GSRC, get our results in order, get some drivers into the interview booth. So don't go anywhere. We will have the results and driver interviews for you very shortly here on the GSRC. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Precision Racing League here on the GSRC, sponsored by Diecast Kings. What a great race we had at Texas. This new profile really proving to be very exciting here in the trucks. Bradley Hawley, though, came away your winner today, and not without contest. Thomas Sink comes home in second after just not being able to catch up quite enough in the final moments. Ken Hoover holds on to third after being challenged strongly by James O'Brien, Rob Haynes, Mike Richter, Paul Williams, Matt Sentel, and Colton Lane, who were all very close behind him, with Austin Hunter rounding out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 was Adam Schoen, coming home 11th, followed by Charles Sumner. Dominic Beijing bounces back to finish 13th, with Adam Young 14th on the grid. 15th place was Richard Regan Jr. after an eventful race for him, followed by J.R. Bash in 16th, Jean Labaff 17th, Jared Mogard, another tough race, comes home on 18th, and Stacy Hunter and Tristan Callahan complete your top 20.
Blaine Adams, after all the trouble he had today, comes home in the 21st position, with Brett Adams coming home in 22nd. Kevin Santana comes home in 23rd, with Edward Perry coming home in 24th position. 25th was Craig Holden, with Nicholas Hunter and Brandon Walter coming home in 26th and 27th. Jay Felton, Matthew Aubrey, and Josue Telez started your back markers, and they came home to round out your top 30. The rest of the results you will see go by on your screen were our DNFs, and we have our winner, Bradley Hawley. Bradley, a new track surface, new tire model last season, very new stuff today. How do you think the racing went?
I thought it was great, considering I won. But, I mean, all in all, with, how competitive this league is, it's just important to try to be up front and be in position. And as y'all saw on any restart, being on the outside was just a huge disadvantage.
Well, definitely being on the outside was a disadvantage, but you didn't have the lead the entire race. You had to fight your way for it. Talk to me about some of those battles.
I mean, for the most part, after we got fresh tires, I tried to save my right front as much as I can to keep my momentum up in turns 1 and 2. I felt like some of the other guys were chewing it up a little bit more than I was, and if we got a long run, I felt pretty confident that I was going to be a tough guy to beat.
Well, Bradley, we've had you up here a couple times, but we haven't asked you this question in a little bit. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
I would like to thank you guys for broadcasting, Diecast Kings for sponsoring us yet again, North Star Title for sponsoring me, and all the first responders and everybody that is trying to help with this COVID-19 situation get better.
Well, thanks for talking to us again, Bradley, and congrats on your win. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Hawley, our winner today, and Chris Phobie has caught up with Thomas Sink.
Well, Thomas, a great runner-up finish tonight. You were able to get really close there a couple of times. Did you have anything for him?
No, the truck was just too aero-tight. Last 2 laps I tried to get a run at him, and it just pushed straight up, and it cost me a bunch of time, so I just had to kind of decide whether it was worth, sticking for second or maybe even losing third.
All right, well, congratulations once again on a great run. Anyone you want to thank that helped make tonight possible for you?
Yeah, everyone at Whataback Racing. The guys, we do a good job at hosting sessions and sharing information. Brad Holly with Stars and Stripes Realty, trading paints for everything they've done for me, and then you guys, of course, for putting on a great show.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Thomas. Once again, congratulations on a great run. Thomas Sink, our runner-up today. And then Ken Huber is going to stop in for a quick chat with Adam.
Yeah, Ken, fantastic finish today, but it was not you. You had to really hang on to it there in the last couple of laps. Talk me through the last restart.
Oh yeah, that was an awesome race actually. Those guys up front are fast, and I'm hot, sweating. The restart was just a matter. I got behind. I had some damage on from the very first lap when the first caution came out. Somebody hit me in the back on accident, I believe, when we were checking up, and I had to deal with that damage the whole time. So I was a little slow. I had pretty good tire wear, able to cut back through a few guys and get a good third place finish, I guess.
And because of that damage, you were the one driver who we could really ask this question to. Are you surprised about how much the draft was in effect here at Texas?
Yeah, I was surprised with the draft, but I also knew tire wear was going to be critical. Entering that new turns 1 and 2 are just absolutely critical on not overcooking your tires. And that's what I was mainly focused on. Even if I had to lose positions, if you noticed, I was dropping back and then slowly making my way back up, just working on tire wear too. But that draft has a big factor.
Well, Ken, we haven't had you on here before, I don't believe. So is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
So I want to thank the league, Diecast Kings, my sponsors, Composite ARF and Performance Aircraft Unlimited. I'd like to thank you guys in the booth. I like to thank everybody that we race with day in and day out. I hope everybody the best of health and their families, and wish everybody well, and look forward to seeing everybody again.
That was Ken Huber, our third place finisher, and that is going to wrap things up for us today. Big thanks to the Precision Racing League for bringing us back on for another season, and a big thank you to this season's sponsors, Diecast Kings and the ButtKicker. Fantastic sponsors for a fantastic series that we get to cover. We're glad that we get to. Also, a big thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast and listen here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for her how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to today's crew, Sean, Chris, and Dougie. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Grand. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button down there on the bottom right as well, so that you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race for these folks, though, is going to be next week at Bristol. That is going to be same time, same place, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. And wow, what a race that's going to be. We also have upcoming races for other series that are listed here on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. We hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this race to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.